Cannabis Business Minds, we train and mentor professionals, entrepreneurs, and aspiring entrepreneurs on how to confidently find their place in the legal cannabis and hemp industries. Come on and join us at cannabisbusinessminds.com. Here's why. To actually go from, the state has legalized cannabis, meaning now you don't go to jail for it. It's past decriminalization. There's legalization, meaning there's going to be a regulatory framework, meaning at one point there's going to be licenses, meaning at one point there is going to be an opportunity for consumers to go into a dispensary to buy. The time difference between that actually happening and you actually being able to get there, right? So from the moment that the law passes to actually being able to get there, that definitely takes time. And so what happens is that it takes time and it takes money. So you might be curious, like, how much time does it take? It depends, right? But typically on average, it will be about 2 to 3 years after the law passing to actually start seeing some of the licenses actually being able to get granted. And then there's more time between license being able to get granted and the time to start up. So if you're a startup operator and you're thinking, okay, yes, I've got my life savings, which let's say it's maybe not that much, and I'm going to put it into cannabis, I would implore you, why don't we think more strategically about that? Why? There's value in the license, but there's much more value in a brand that you're building, a community that is following you, and you as the personal brand to actually getting this business started. I'm not saying don't work on any of these other things. I'm saying you've got now a roadmap to help you get there, because there's a lot of money that goes into building a cannabis business. And there's a lot of money that goes into getting to the application phase. There's a lot of money that after you've actually applied, let's say it's been granted, that goes into the build out of the cannabis license. And then there's a lot of money to actually launch the business. Then one more, there's a lot of money to stay compliant, to make sure you're paying taxes, because and this is a different video that you can watch, there's a lot of just costs associated with doing business in cannabis. All right. So what are some actionable steps that you can start taking today if cannabis is legal in your state and you want to build something? So there's money before the license. So let's talk about that. If you have an idea for, let's say you want to be a cultivator and you want to have a branded cultivation brand, or you want to have a manufacturing business, anything that you basically have a product related to cannabis that you want to sell. Well, your first thing is that you want to get inroads with the community. What community do I mean? I mean a few different communities. The community related to, the political environment in the state that you're operating in and the locality that you're operating in. You want to get really involved in talking to people, to being present, to telling people that you are the founder of XYZ company. Like, that is number one thing that you want to do. But secondary is that if you're envisioning yourself as the founder and maybe the CEO, or that's whatever that position is for you, but let's assume it's founder and CEO of that business. Well, go back and look at the definition of that. You are going to be running the entire business. You have to have an understanding of every component of what it takes to build a successful business. We're talking about marketing. We're talking about sales. We're talking about operations. We're talking about product formulation. We're talking about team building, leadership. We're talking about compliance and law. We're talking about your customer service. We're talking about all of these different parts of the business. So you got a big opportunity right now to start really leaning into assessing where you are as CEO there, right? And your strengths and your weaknesses, but an opportunity to either work with other people that are in that ecosystem and make sure that you are gaining all the things that you want. And almost more importantly, starting to build that community outreach, those fans of your brand. And so then we have to ask ourselves a few questions, those fans of your brand. So what is your positioning as that business owner? And as that company, right? Because when we think about it, you are in the business of selling. And I'm imagining you're going along this route. There's two real routes of selling cannabis. We all know that it is magnificent for improving health. And so if you're on the health route, which I hope you are, you have a lot of education to do. And by educating potential consumers, you are all of a sudden building brand awareness. You are able to capture emails. You are able to be a community pillar, and you're able to start at one point, maybe making money before you actually get the license. Now, this is a very important thing that a lot of business owners that want to start in cannabis or have started in cannabis aren't really doing. There's no money behind the scenes. There really isn't. Not when you're playing small, not when you don't have a lot of capital. There's not a lot of money behind the scenes. So the way that you can actually get there and get some money even before the license and prove out that you have traction and prove out that you have something more is to start building community. So I want you to think about where you are right now and how you can start building community. Some of the questions that you might want to ask yourself is like, what is your biggest strength? If you build out community, what does that look like? Who is that community? And third, what does that community want? What are they really hungry for? What knowledge are they really looking for? Because my friends, there is absolutely money before the license. Thanks so much for listening to this week's show. Please subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. And if you enjoyed this, leave us a 5-star review. Make sure that you share this episode on your social media and tag us in the Instagram stories. You can find us wherever you go on social media. Just look up Cannabis Business Minds. Have an idea for the show or something that you want to talk about? Shoot us an email at podcast@cannabisbusinessminds.com.